when you have a federal tax lien and you have competing state tax warrants, which liens take priority. In Indiana, a tax lien is called a tax warrant. And it's first in time, first in right. For a federal lien is the date of assessment of tax, not the date the notice of federal tax lien was filed. So it depends on when the tax was assessed and when the tax warrant was issued by the state. Those are the dates that show there's a competing issue on those, because the IRS is saying, we want all the proceeds. Well, the state's saying, well, we get some of the proceeds and they're in a higher position. That's the fight I'm having with the IRS right now. But that's another issue to have if you have competing state needs.
I agree. In New York State, the IRS has the same position, that they go with the date of assessment is key. So their date of assessment versus New York State's warrant. And again, New York State also has the term warrant similar to your state for their lien. And the interesting thing is, Jay, a lot of taxpayers say, hey, Steve, I got a warrant. Does that mean they're going to arrest me?
Yes.
That terminology, again, a warrant for a state is a lien. They're not arresting you, but yeah, it's equivalent to the IRS lien. And you're right. When you're dealing with your priorities, then you got to pull the title search. You got to look at the date each one was filed, and then you got to look at the IRS assessment date.
Yes.
Specifically. I've had one, I don't do many of these, but back in the day, I did successfully stop a lien from being filed when I got the notice of tax lien. I filed a collection protest on it. It was a taxpayer that was employed in Wall Street, and he provided me documentation from his employer. He was making a lot of money, over $1 million. And documentation was that if he gets a federal tax lien, he loses his employment out of a job. So I went over that with the appeals officer, went through in detail the rule for securities industry, and they granted my appeal and did not put the lien on.
It doesn't benefit the government, because if you lose the job, then I have no ability to pay.
Right, right. Kind of makes sense. They could have a lien on no assets, which a taxpayer didn't have, and now you force them into the unemployment line. And someone in securities industry, if you can't work in the securities industry, that is their employment. You're going to have a lien that attaches to nothing, or you're going to have a taxpayer that's going to be making $1 million a year, in which case we were doing a full pay installment agreement, and they did get all the money at the end.